Buying a new build home can be a very exciting and nerve-wracking process, even if you've done it multiple times in the past. There's a lot to know, and there's a lot that goes into the new build process. I want to talk you through A to Z, exactly everything that you need to know from start to finish on how to close on your new build home. Hi, I'm Whaley, your favorite Greenville realtor. The first couple of things that you want to do whenever you're looking into the new build process, the very first thing you need to do is go ahead and build your needs list, your wants list, and things that you know you don't want. Go ahead and get that out of the way, just like with any home purchase. You want to know exactly what your target is and know what you're actually trying to achieve and what you want in a home. After that, you want to make sure you have the right representation. So that's getting the right lender and the right real estate agent. I've found it's very important to go ahead and get a pre-approval done, know exactly what price range you should be shopping in, so you know what kind of budget and what kind of products you can be looking at. The other thing, go ahead and get your real estate agent. You want to have your representation. The builder will have their own real estate agent that's going to be working on their behalf, and they're going to be super friendly, they're going to be great, but ultimately they have an obligation. They're being paid by the builder to work in their best interests. So you want to have someone that's working in your best interest that really knows the new build market well. One thing I do want to say before I move on to the next phase is a lot of builders will have their own on-site lender. Sometimes the incentives that they offer to work with that on-site lender are just too good to pass up. And sometimes what seems like a really great incentive when you compare it to your own lender might not be such a great incentive after all because of a higher interest rate or higher closing costs or whatever it may be. So you really want to compare apples to apples and find a good lender that you can trust to start this process. Once you've already found your team and what you're looking for, then start identifying what community is best fit for you. That's something that if you've hired the real estate agent, they'll be able to help you do as well. Once you've found those communities that all fit, package them all together, then research the builders that are building in those specific communities. Look at things like online reviews. Go to local Facebook groups and ask about the different builders. One of the things I will say is if a builder builds enough homes, there's going to be a negative review. And sometimes it's just about mismatched expectations. Sometimes it's just about, they've built, 3,000 homes and one of them was bad. And sometimes it has to do with a lack of overall quality. So you need to be able to sort through that and figure out consistently which are the best and which are not. And there are ways to protect your best interest when you're doing a new build. So just keep that in mind. I'll talk about that a little bit later in the video. After you found the builders that you like, the communities that you're interested in, then you should go out and you should actually start touring different models from those builders. And you want to look at the different floor plan options that they have. Sometimes you may not be able to find that particular floor plan in the community that you're interested in, so you want to make sure that you go and tour that floor plan in person. Now, a lot of builders have done the online 3D walkthrough, which I think is super helpful if that's the only thing that you can do, but I always recommend physically walking through one of the homes and actually seeing what it's like and experiencing that floor plan in person if possible. Another thing is, I wouldn't just base your decision off of the model. The model that builder is going to build is going to be the nicest home they're going to build. It's going to have the most amount of upgrades. You're going to want to look at what someone else is a buyer like you, what kind of quality of work that they're getting. You also need to keep in mind what phase they're in the construction process, because you might see some nicks and dings and maybe a broken window or two, but if they haven't gone through and done their blue tape walkthrough, that's going to be very common. Unfortunately, things do happen during the construction process. A rock may get kicked up by a truck or whatever it might be. That's not necessarily indicative of poor quality. You would love to see one that's finished that blue tape where they're getting close to the closing process if possible. Since you've identified the floor plan that you're looking for, you've identified the builder that you want to work with, the next step is really to get into the contract phase. During that, you're going to do a lot of negotiating. You want to ask a lot of questions to get an understanding of the product that you're going to be getting. You're going to know about some general things like the amenities that the community offers. You're going to know what schools it's zoned for. Even if that's not important to you, it may be important to the next buyer, and that may affect your resale value. That's just something you always should consider. And then there's things that will be important for the specific home that you're going to be building. There's a lot of different items, and I've done other videos in the past to talk about this. And to keep this video a little bit more condensed, I won't dive into all of them, but just an example is you might want to know what kind of tonnage your HVAC system is going to have. And you might want to know if you're building a 2-story house, if you're just going to have one HVAC system or two. That really is going to affect the livability of that particular home. So all those things are super important, and working with an agent that really knows and can navigate that process well for you to ensure that you know the exact product that you're going to be getting is important. Now that you've found the right builder, the right floor plan, you've asked a lot of the questions that you need to ask, the next phase is actually the contract negotiation. One of the biggest mistakes that I see with buyers whenever they're looking at a new construction option is that they're trying to negotiate on the base price of the home. Builders are not going to negotiate on the base price of the home. The reason being is if they do it for this particular buyer, they've got to do it for all the other buyers that come into that community. And effectively what they've done is they've made themselves significantly less money. Like if you could negotiate $10,000 off, but they're going to build 200 homes in that community, they just took a significant loss if they were doing that with every buyer. The second thing is they don't want to devalue their community. There's already people who've already bought in that neighborhood and they've already bought at the base price, and they don't want to see that other people are buying in more affordably than they bought their home. They want to see those numbers go up so that their home naturally appreciates, and you're going to want to see the same thing when you become a member of that community. Now, that doesn't mean you can't negotiate with builders. Actually, I've done a lot of videos about how to get great deals with new builders. There are a lot of different things you can negotiate on, but that is typically not one of them. Where you can negotiate with builders are in things like closing costs. You can get them to do interest rate buy downs. They can put upgrades in the home that are discounted or potentially even don't add any money to the bottom line. You can get them to add in appliances like washers and dryers and refrigerators. So those are the areas where you can really win with a new build and create some significant savings. Typically, once you've gotten through the contract process, there's going to be a deposit that's going to be required after that. Every new builder is different. Every new builder has a slightly different process, but I'm kind of talking about it at a high level, which is most common. And it really depends on what that amount is going to be, and it's going to be specific to that community and that builder. You've put your deposit down, you're super excited. Next step after you put down your deposit is to go to the design center. You're going to pick out all the different upgrades that you're going to put in your potential home. Now this is super important because a lot of builders will have you sign that contract, like I've already mentioned, beforehand, and then you're going to add upgrades, which is going to be an additional expense after. It really depends on the builder and the community, but I find just as a general rule of thumb, most people are going to put somewhere between 5 to 10% of the base price as upgrades into the home. Can be higher, can be lower, depending on the builder and the community, but it's just something you want to be prepared for so that you ensure that you have enough budget for that. After you've picked out all of your finishes, you've done everything at the design center, then you're going to wait for a couple of weeks as they're ordering materials, they're getting permits, and they're doing everything they need to do to start putting shovels in the ground. Some can move faster than others, and it depends on where they're at in the particular community and where they're at with that developer. But most of the time, you're going to be waiting 4 to 6 weeks before anything starts. And then you're under contract and you're going through the entire build-out process. The thing that I will say here is it is super important to get your own private inspections done. All the builds have to pass through county and city code inspections, but you really want to make sure you've got someone that is dedicated to your behalf, that is looking specifically just at your home and is spending hours in there. There are 3 different phases in the build process where I recommend doing inspections, and typically where the builder is going to do a walkthrough with you. The first is they're going to pour your foundation. You want to go ahead and have your inspection done. After that, they're going to build out the frame of your home. You're going to come in and see it. They might call this the electrical walkthrough. You'll be figuring out where outlets go and where switches are and all of that. You're going to want to do an inspection and a walkthrough at that point. Then after that, they're going to put the drywall in. They're going to do all their finishing touches, and you're going to want to do another inspection to make sure that everything cosmetically and everything functionally is working well. After you've done that, you're typically going to do a final punch walkthrough. So you're going to come in, you're going to look for any blemishes, you're going to get some blue tape, potentially put it on the wall, and you're going to say, hey, here's the things that I'm seeing, just to make sure the finishing work is the way that it should be. After that step, you'll come in for a final walkthrough. You'll get to see everything fully finished. They're going to go over all your builder warranties, which is something you really want to discuss in the beginning of the process. What warranties is that builder offering, and are they covering them themselves, or are they outsourcing that to a third party? And you want to figure out how good they are about picking up claims and what kind of claims they'll pick up. So you're reading through all that warranty packet, you're getting all of your warranty information for your specific appliances, you'll register all those after closing, and then you actually attend closing. You get the keys to the house, you close, and your new home is officially yours. I'm curious, What is the one thing that you really want to know about new builds? Leave a comment down below so that I can make sure that I cover that in a future video.